Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, it's BJ.
And Patrick.
And we're here again talking about all things real estate. And, as we've done, over the last little while, we talk about different things too that are I think that are kind of cool. We think things that are relevant and cool and people might be interested in too, right? We don't want to be in just this kind of, this is all we do, right?
In not exactly in one lane, but two-dimensional. How about that?
Yeah, there's a lot, I guess even in what we're doing, there's a lot more to it than just bricks and mortar. How's that?
Well, there's also we're dealing with people.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of different situations.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. And Victoria, lifestyle.
Yeah.
All of that added to the mix, right?
Absolutely. So, with that said, we want to talk today about something that, we didn't see very much in the heat of the market when it really was a seller's market, but we're starting to see a little bit more of now is properties or deals that get done subject to the sale of another property. So maybe let's just make sure everybody understands what that means.
Right. So we're going to be making an offer on a house. You're a buyer. You're looking for whatever particular property you have. But the condition would be maybe you might not be able to afford a second house without selling the house that you're currently located in.
Sure.
So we would make a condition, and we'd call that subject to the sale of your home. So we would put that address in there into your offer, and then make that condition based on whatever timeline that's agreed upon when you're making that offer, whatever you negotiate. So that's going to start happening a lot more. And then, of course, you negotiate, try to get yourself an accepted offer with the other party, the house that you want to move to.
Right.
And then typically, you would have other conditions if it's inspection financing, subject to approving the title, or any sort of other things that you feel is or your realtor feels is necessary to cover yourself. And then you still have this longer subject to period.
Right.
Subject to the sale of your house.
Sure.
Now that it's taking longer to sell houses. So
yeah, I think that's
the quick gist of that.
Sure. And the one thing to add to that is when we have something subject to the sale, there's usually a clause in there with a 24 or 48-hour clock.
Good point. Yeah.
So if somebody else comes along with an offer and they've removed their conditions and they're ready to move forward, they can hit that clock. And now if I'm acting for the buyer and I'm subject to the sale, I have then 48 hours, or my client has 48 hours to either remove that condition or our offer will disappear and they'll take the other one.
Right. Sometimes that's what is that usually called? There's a couple slang terms to be called that 24-hour period or that contingency clause altogether. Sometimes it's just called a contingency, so a contingent to a sale of a property.
Yeah.
Or a shotgun clause.
Yeah, or time clause sometimes too.
Yeah, the real term for it is time clause. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you either get that 24 hours, 48 hours, again, whatever. There's no rule for how much time is set there.
Right.
So it's negotiated again. Obviously, if for the best benefit of the buyer buying a property, you want as much time as possible, and the seller agreeing to it wants the least amount of time possible, so the buyer can either poop or get off the pot.
Yeah. And so in this case, I think we're going to see more of those things come up. I've been on, I guess, all sides of that equation at some point where I've been acting for the seller and we've received a subject to sale on the offer that we've accepted. I've been acting for the seller when somebody came and clicked that 48-hour time clause. I've been on the other side where I was acting for the buyer and we put in the subject to, and where we had to leave one where we got it, or more than one where we got it, and also been on the case where I was the one coming in with the second offer.
Right. So coming in with the second offer and essentially running out the clock or bumping the first buyer
Right.
of the home off of that property and being the second one. That's a great feeling to help your clients win that house.
Right.
And even if there was somebody sort of already in the way.
Right.
And then the other from the first buyer's perspective, well, they're going to be dishing out costs for inspections.
Yes.
It might not just be a home inspection. You know, maybe the appraisal might be eaten in the cost of the mortgage broker or
Sure.
the bank on the first one, but
Right.
that means on the second one, they're probably going to get billed for the second appraisal for the other house. And that doesn't mean, like, you know, if there was any other strata review, wells, septics,
yeah.
all of those things,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So it could be costly,
Sure.
making it subject to the sale. So I'd want to put that out there before that, you know, just to have the expectations that, you know, you might spend all this money, you might not get that money back.
Right.
So that's a risk.
Absolutely. And you know, these are things that we would talk about with our clients as we make those decisions, or they make those decisions. The reason we bring it up is I think we are going to see some more of those things coming up with regards to, you know, properties where they're like you said, maybe they're taking a little bit longer to sell, but my client still has to buy a place, and they don't want to end up with two places. What are our options?
That's one of the ways to do that.
Right.
Exactly.
So
there's also, as time goes on and, you know, real estate's going to take a normal amount of time to sell again.
Yeah.
The chances of getting a subject to the sale of accepted offer. What about this second one? People will start writing to try to bump the first one off. So that's acting like a backup offer to the seller.
Right.
But now it gets really tricky. You're in the middle of conditions, maybe inspections or financing.
Yeah.
In that first accepted offer, now there might not be any room to negotiate if a second backup offer comes in.
Right. If they want to do, you know,
for whatever, and it really depends on how that first offer has been drafted.
Yeah.
Will affect the future offer.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. So again, these are things that we're going to, you know, be seeing more of in this market. We've been talking about how we are in a changing market. That's not, and I would say this again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that the market is different. Okay, so we're not selling stuff in hours. We're selling stuff in weeks or months in some cases. So I think, you know, these are just things that we used to see a lot that we probably haven't, and so we're talking about them because we want to bring it out, because we are going to start to see some of these things coming up. And you know, I would say in this new year, I've written an offer that's been subject to the sale of another property.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're going to be doing this all the time, so we're going to brush up on our skills to do that. We probably people haven't been doing this for the past 2-3 years now, but putting this all in perspective. You know, we just came off a year with over 2022. We came off a year of like slightly over 10,000 sales. 2021, sorry. So during COVID madness. Now that carried over through 2022.
Right.
Sort of not quite halfway through the year, and then slowed down. We did about 6,800 sales.
Right.
Yeah, but the 10-year average is around 7,000 and a little bit, anyways. So
Sure.
now we were just a little bit under.
Yeah.
Okay, everything's slowed down a little bit. I would expect this year to be somewhere in that 7,000 mark.
Sure.
Back to normal. Back to like whatever the 10-year average is.
Right.
It's right around that mark anyways.
Right. Yeah.
So it just feels like everything's extremely slow because we've been going so fast.
Right.
We're speeding on the highway. We just exited off the highway. Now we're doing the city speed limit.
Right.
Now it feels like we're going extra slow. That's
Sure.
all. Right?
Yeah.
And it's January. It's the beginning. It's
Sure.
the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
It's always a slow start.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
And then we hit but it could start heating up by the end of February,
Sure.
or by depending on if it's private school or post-secondary or public school. Pick a spring break.
Right.
That's usually the other time when
Sure.
things will start picking up.
Yeah. So
just to give some perspective on it.
Yeah. So, you know, these are, again, things that we just are bringing up because we're going to start to see some more of these things, and to help you just be aware of what that looks like and what, what the future possibly could be in terms of those trends. Nobody really knows where we're going. We think we all have a reasonable idea of where we're headed. So those are just some things to give you some kind of perspective on that. Going forward, I guess ultimately we'll see what spring is like. We expect that this is not going to be a horrendous year in terms of the real estate market and that kind of thing. I think I think it's a good time. We talked about this on another video. It's a good time to buy.
Well-priced homes are going to sell. Good conditions, good locations, they will still sell as long as those three things happen together.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If there's something off, well, talk to your realtor or talk to us, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please put them in our comments, or you can reach out to us directly. And if you haven't, please take a few minutes and just subscribe to the channel and like the video. It just helps us with getting the word out there and growing the channel. And if there's anything you can think of that you'd be interested in hearing us talk about, please let us know that as well.
Thank you so much for spending time with us, watching the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
See you all.